Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Learn.Python. In this video, you will learn a fully working expense manager app in Python by using Streamlit and SQLite. Before we jump into coding, I will first show you the demo of our app. This is going to be a dashboard or the user interface for the expense manager app. Here it is the sidebar, and we have provided one select box. And it has four options. That is new expense, view all expense, update, and delete expense. When the user clicks on the new expense, then he'll be able to add the new expense. By adding expense category shopping, then amount 500 and date. Once user saves the record, a message will appear that expense added successfully. Now, if the user wants to see the recorded expense, then he needs to click on View All Expense where he will be able to see the recorded expenses. So here the ID is 1, with category as shopping and amount is 500. Now, if the user wants to update any existing expense, then he needs to go to Update Expense and select the ID to be updated. So let's say its ID is 1. Then enter the updated category. Let's say Health. Enter the amount 2,500, update the date, and save. Once the user clicks on Save, the expense will be updated. So now let's see whether the expense is updated or not for ID 1. In View All Expense, you can see for ID 1 Health is updated with the 2,500 amount. Now, if the user wants to delete the expense, then just click on Delete Expense. Here, first we will show the user all available expenses. Then the user needs to select the ID to be deleted. So let's say ID is 1 and save. Expense deleted. Now let's see in View All Expense whether the expense is deleted or not. So you can see the ID 1 is deleted from the table. Now, we'll jump into VS Code for coding. Here, we have created the Expense Manager app.py file and imported the necessary libraries like pandas for data handling, Streamlit to create the interactive dashboard, and SQLite 3 to manage the database operations. So, in order to perform the database operations, first we will need to connect with the database. Here you can see that we have connected to the expense database and created one cursor object to execute the necessary database-related operations. So, let's first create table in the expense database. For that, we have executed query create table if not exists, and this will create the table named expense if it does not exist. This table will have 4 columns: ID, category, amount, and date. And ID will be our primary key, and it will be auto increment. Then we will commit these changes to the database. After that, we will create our first function to add the expense. Here, you can see that it will take 3 parameters: category, amount, and date. We will execute the insert query here, and we'll pass the values, whatever the user has passed, and then we will commit these changes to the database. Since we have created our first function, that is add expense, now we will create another function to make the dashboard. So here you can see that we have created the function named as expense app. In this function, first we'll set the page configuration, and we'll give the title to our app. As I shown to you, we have provided one sidebar and a select box here, and which will have 4 options: new, view, update, and delete the expenses, and saved into the choice variable. If the user selects the choice as new expense, then we'll show subheader first to user. And here we have provided 3 fields to input the category, amount, and date. Category will be text input, amount will be number input, and date will be a date input. Once the user clicks on Save button, we'll call the add_expense function and pass all these input values. And we'll raise the success message, expense added successfully. Let's try to run this function and see whether it executes correctly or not. For that, we'll need to call the function expense app and run this code. In order to run the Streamlit dashboard, we'll need to mention Streamlit run, then file name. Once we execute this command, we'll receive a link. And by accessing that link, we'll be able to see our dashboard. Here is our link, and now our dashboard is loading. You can see now we have the new expense option in select box, and fields like category, amount, and date. Let's try by adding some values for category, amount, and date, and click Save. You can see expense has been added successfully. Now, in the same way, we will write our second function that is view all expense. So here, you can see we have added view expense function, in which we have executed simple SQL query that is select star from expense table. As a result, it will fetch all the records. And later we have converted those records into a pandas data frame and return the data frame with column names as ID, category, amount, and date. Let's add this function into our dashboard function expense app. So if user selects the choice equals to view all expense, then we'll show a subheader and we'll call the view expense function, which will display the data frame in Streamlit format. Now let's see in our dashboard. Let's select view all expense, which will shows all the expenses in tabular format, as you can see here. Similarly, create our third function to delete expenses and fourth function to update expenses. Here, you can see we have created delete expense function and update expense function. In delete expense, we'll ask the user the ID to be deleted and we'll execute a simple query that is delete from expense table where ID, which is provided by user. And then we'll commit these changes to the database. To update expense, we'll ask user to provide ID, category, amount, and date to be updated. And then we'll execute the query update expense table set category, amount, and date where ID is equals to whichever the user has passed, and commit these changes to the database. Now let's add these functions into our expense app. If user selects the choice equals to delete expense, then we'll show a subheader first. Then we'll call view expense function to display the data frame with existing expense details so that user can select the expense to be deleted from available list. After that, we'll ask the user to provide the ID to be deleted, which will be number input. Once the user clicks Save, we'll call delete expense function and we'll pass these parameters and raise the success message that is expense deleted. Similarly, now we'll write the function to update expense. If user selects the choice equals to update expense, we'll ask the user to input ID, category, amount, and date to be updated. Once the user clicks Save, we'll call update expense function and we'll pass these parameters and raise the success message that expense updated. Let's see in our dashboard how it looks like. Let's select Update Expense option. Before to that, first check the existing expenses in View All Expenses. Now we'll do the sum changes for existing expense. Let's add updated category, amount, and date. Click Save. Message received, expense updated. Let's check in View All Expense. So here you can see this ID is updated with latest details. Now, let's delete some ID. We'll go to Delete Expense option. Here you can see all available expenses first, then select ID. To delete, and save. Message received. Expense deleted. In View All Expense, you will be able to see that ID is deleted. That's it, guys, for this app. Hope you liked this simple and beginner-friendly app. Before you go, here is a small challenge. Pause the video and try adding one new feature to this app as your homework. If this video helps you understand a real-world Python project, make sure you subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next video.